Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Morning, welcome back to week 5, or the fractional part of week 5 on the Titan Prize build. And as promised, over the weekend I got these bases painted. So the first thing I need to do today is to get the switches wired in. There's a switch going to go in and a power jack going to go in to these sides, and you can see it. This is the shorter or the thinner side where I had the plastic. So I've got the soldering iron warming up. I just need to get the hole maker out and make a couple of holes, and we'll go through to that. Once I have these guys wired, I am ready to start decaling and doing final detail painting on the ships, and that's all what we've all been waiting for, because I've got a whole plate full of Kronos 1 stuff that to dig into. I've got, well, I'll get into that when I get into it. I don't want to ruin it now, but let's hurry up and do that bit. Righty, I have wired up the bases. They are in the other room. I am getting ready to bring out the ships, and I have printed off a new sheet of decals. These were based on some artwork that Bill Krause had sent me, plus some of my very own artwork that I have created or recreated. And I'd like you to take a look at the difference here between what my printer did and what is supplied with the kit. Kit stuff is very nice. Mine's just a little cleaner. I'm a little bit happier with that. So we are going to take these and get ready to put them on. These are also the decals for the larger, for the G, and for the smaller for the Titan. And look at the difference between, and I also made myself some duplicates just in case, but look at the difference between the 80102 on the white paper and the 80102. The difference between the clarity there. So we're happy about this. But other news in the mail call today. The last missing piece of my Kronos 1 work has arrived, and this is where it's good to have friends in the industry, because Paul sent me I think this may be even a prototype before they get sent to round 2, because Paul did the design work and the production work for round 2, and then he sends them to round 2. But I have gotten in my grubby little hands one of the first sets of the photo-etch. Now, this is sheet number 2, and this is sheet number 1. And the two things that thrill me the most about this photo-etch, one is they don't have to be painted, and 2 is they don't have to be painted. The photo-etch is meant to live in this exact color on top of the hull, and a wonderful breakdown of where everything goes. And of course this will happen last after all of the painting has happened. But it's really going to see, and you've got some nice, wonderful reference photos from the filming model that show what it looks like in real life on the actual kit. And that's going to help me tremendously, because it doesn't always lay flat. And that's going to be an important thing to remember when the time comes. So now that I have sufficiently drooled over those pieces of photo etch and I have wiped them back off, I will put them away and carefully keep them from getting bent or dinged before I am ready to use them. So yay, I got the lighting kits, I've got the kit, I got enough gray paint, that's for sure, left over. I think I'm ready to go on the Kronos just as soon as I can finish up the Titan and the Enterprise, and I think that that's going to happen like right away. Well, looky here, we've got the first decals down now. A lot of these I have painted instead of using the decals for, notably anything you see that's orange. That was supposed to be a decal like these. I have opted to paint those instead. But look, I've got the number down. I've got the Titan down. These are going down very nicely for homemade decals. I'm loving this paper. Make sure I don't smear any wet paint. I'm also going in and touching up little things as I need them. But I think what I need to do is, buoyed by the success of that, is to go ahead and start carrying over those same decals, well, not the same ones because I want to use Enterprise, onto this part of the bottom of the big saucer. The whole thing here is I want to get the bottoms of these ships done and happy and good and yay, so that I can flip them over, put them on the stands, and then do the work on the top, because the majority of the paint work that still needs to get done on the top. And really, with these posts sticking out of the bottom of the ships, it makes it very difficult to work on them that way. So that is simply why I am opting to finish off the bottom of these ships as far as well as I am. Let's see, I need these guys. I need where it says Enterprise, and I need the G here. And those are going to and the nice thing is, I do feel a sense of liberty in the fact that should I need to, or if I mess up anything, I can print another sheet of these. It is, like I said, quite liberating when I realized that I could start doing my own decals and have them come out reliably. And the reason that, or what has changed to make that possible, is that these are made to go in the laser printer, not an inkjet, and that they don't have to be sealed, because longtime viewers will know it is the sealer that I seem to have a horrible allergic reaction to. So I don't want to use the sealer. So having something that I don't have to seal automatically makes me a happier baby. So I think what I'd like to do, I realized from doing these other decals, I might want to cut a little more carrier film. It looked like maybe it was trying to curl underneath, and I don't want that to happen. So by making the decal slightly wider, I'm hoping that won't happen. But here we've got this to go here, and this to go here. Alrighty, so I'm going through and I'm putting in the tiny red stripy decals. These are the things that go around the horseshoes of the ends of the phaser strips, and around these little, let me see if I can zoom in on one. Yeah, you can see them right there. You're seeing the sheen of the light hitting them because they have not dried yet, and I'll get a flat coat over top of that. But this also, when I blow it up that way, I actually can see it better because I'm looking in the camera and not at the actual thing. But anybody who's done any Voyager decaling knows about those horseshoes that go around the phaser strips, and there are little dashed lines that go along the length of those. I've never put those on. I never saw the need for them. They're these guys right here. Well, yeah, they're these guys right here. So I don't know if I'm going to put those down the length of it. That way lies madness, I think. But I'm working on the, zoom back out. Now I'm working on doing the same ones on the smaller ship. Okay, so I've just been circling around and putting on tiny decals where I can. Look at that. Focus. Well, if it would focus, you would see that that is perfectly readable. Look at that. United Federation of Planets in the tiniest text imaginable. We got those, we got the side pennant on, we've got the airlock on, we've got a lot of stuff. I'm moving up towards the side. I wanted to stick towards just doing the bottom. I'm going to let all this stuff dry because I don't know how long these decals, although they're going on beautifully, I don't know how long they're going to take to dry and how well they're going to pucker down along the contours. So we're going to let this go, and maybe I'll do a little bit, another hour or so on it this evening, but it's almost dinner time. Well, good morning, everybody, or late afternoon, actually, mid-afternoon. It's Tuesday. How's your day going? I'll tell you, I have an interesting story to tell. Well, I'll tell you the story. You can tell me whether it's interesting. Last night I was putting decals down, and I got carried away, and I got cocky, and I said, why don't I put the big old main registry decal on the Titan? I had been working on everything on the bottoms of these ships, and I could put the side pennants on, and I did the side pennants on the nacelles, and I got cocky, and I started thinking, well, let's put that main one on the top. So I flipped it over, and I put this main one down, the one that I had printed. And I realized I needed to cut it in 3 parts because it was just too cumbersome. So this is the large one, but I'll show you on it anyway. So I cut it here and put it down in 3 pieces, and it got ahead of me. It folded over on itself, and while the side stripes were okay, it was the number that was actually the N. It would be the N over here that folded over on itself, and I couldn't get it to straighten out, and did I say I couldn't get it to straighten out? So I just got frustrated and pulled the whole thing off. And I said, well, am I going to print another one of those? And then I realized, I've got the stock decal. I got the one that came with the kit. I could use that. So I cut that up, put it in place. Everything was fine. It's it's a little fuzzier. The lines are a little heavier than the ones that I had printed, but it was looking okay. And then before I turned in, or actually no, this was well, see, I did that in the afternoon, and then evening I had time to spray everything. I put a flat coat over top of everything, and I had noticed that well, let me back up and rephrase that, because I had put the decals down last night. I sprayed the flat coat on it this morning, early this morning, and I noticed that it had bubbled up. The decal had bubbled up. This was the decal that came with the kit, and it wasn't the one that I had printed. I was kind of concerned with the decal silvering because this being a 3D printed surface, it's not completely smooth, and I had put a clear coat over it, but I was kind of concerned about the edges silvering. So I put the spray over it and didn't think much about it, let it set off to dry. Now when I came back to it, all of the stuff that I had done, here's the one that I had done on my printer, that dried in fine, and the carrier film disappeared. Everything was wonderful. It was happy and joyous, and children were singing in the streets. But I noticed on the decals that came with the kit, the ink bubbled up. And I don't know whether that was because maybe those were printed with an inkjet printer. I don't know. But it bubbled up the decal, and I went, oh, that's no good. I don't like that. So I did the thing that no one ever wants you to do, and I ripped it off even after I had spray coated it, and still I needed to get rid of it. So now I'm in doing the one thing you're not supposed to do, which is to take duct tape, stick it down over top of a decal, and pull it back up. And I'm to the point now where I might even have to repaint this tiny bit to get rid of it, because I want to use my painted version, or my printed version. Now on the very large, on the Enterprise, I had put an extra coat of gloss on the saucer where the decal is going to go, because I was afraid of that texture underneath the printing texture making the decal silver. If all of this makes any sense to you, please write me a letter, drop it in the mailbox with a self-addressed stamped envelope, and I will get back to you. But this is me trying to take off some of the remnants of this decal so that I can print a new one and put it in place. Other than that, the long and the short of it is I am ready to put these on stands and finish painting the tops of them and putting the top decals on. I mean, but When I saw how good these looked, I didn't want to live with that. That's basically what it comes down to. So I'm going to try to remove the last bits of this and maybe run a sanding sponge over it. And luckily, these areas where the decal is going, it's going to cover up a lot of the painting plates, so I'm not really worried about that. I do need to see if that is creating a big light leak, because if that is, then that's going to have to be touched up with paint. Let me see how that looks. It's faint, but it's there. Yeah, I'm going to have to cover that up. I can see a little bit of light leak coming out. So yeah, I'm going to touch those areas up with paint, and then make the area clean and fresh and ready for a new decal. Well, huzzahs and handsprings. I thought the day would never come. I've got the big Enterprise up on its stand. So now this is attached to the stand and wired in with a little switch at the back here. I can go about my business painting the details in, catching up, hitting any of the little light leaks, stuff like that, and doing some of this accent work back here. I found a good black that was a counterpoint. That's a NATO black, I believe. That's a counterpoint to the dark gray, and but yet still not a true black. But that's gonna get this up on a stand, and now I can do the top decals as well. Printed out a new sheet, including plenty of extras just in case, and we're ready to go on that. I will move that off of the table now and see if I can do the same thing to the smaller ship. All right, now we have the small ship, the Titan, on its base, and life is good. Well, life is better. Gets a little bit of a bobblehead on it. It's about as sturdy as it's going to be. It is time to redo that big decal, but you can see where I had to paint over a couple of spots here. I'm going to blend those back in, and then we can do the big decal on that. So I'm going to put some paint on there, set it aside to dry, and pull the big ship, the Enterprise, back out so that I can do the big registry, and that'll be a good showy way to end the day. Alrighty, so I've repainted the affected area of the saucer on the Titan. Used one of these, and that is in the other room drying. And now it's time to do the big showy registry and numbers and stripes here. But if you look closely, you will see there's a pattern in the print there. See that diagonal print? It's almost like a fabric. That's what I was concerned about. That, and it's what I'm still concerned about, whether or not that's going to cause silvering around the decal. So I've put a gloss over that. Hopefully that's enough to mitigate some of that, and then I will be able to put the names and numbers on it, and it won't be too affected by that pattern underneath. And yes, I am stalling a bit. I'm also looking at other things here that need some of these red decals or outline decals, so maybe getting some of those ready. Okay, let's go ahead and take the plunge literally, put this in the bolo water, and get it ready to go on the ship. Well, those were ridiculously easy. I mean, tearing it apart into 3 pieces is definitely the way to go. To cut these away from the number is definitely the way to go, but that was ridiculously easy. And I think it has something to do with how well Bill has designed this, because it's designed that the number goes from grid line to grid line. You don't have to do too much guesswork. It starts at that grid line, wraps around till it gets done. Starts at that grid line, comes all the way down. It goes from end to shining G there. It doesn't get any simpler than that. And just a couple little accents here and here, and we're pretty much done with that. So we're going to let that sit. I'm going to take a very sharp blade, and I'm going to slice in between the segments there to let the water out, let the air in, and let it settle down around that. But That was easy, to quote the old Staples ad. The Titan's back on the table here now. I was getting ready to put the decal down on that, and I realized I probably should put a clear coat over that area first, just in case. I don't want to cause any more problems than I'm solving. So we're going to let that clear coat dry for a few minutes while I cut out the decal and get it ready to go down. But I hope this goes down as easily as the other ones did. Well, that's a beauty shot to leave the day with. I can't get over how beautifully those went down. And they already look like they've completely the carrier film's completely disappeared in it. Fantastic. We're going to let that sit overnight. Tomorrow we're going to do the flat coating on it. Last of the touch-up painting, and we'll be able to call them done. We have just that tiny little bit to do around the necks of each one of them, but that's really all that's left. Morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, and I am confident in telling you this will be the last day on the at least the Enterprise. I don't know if the Titan will get finished today, but the Enterprise will be. I have one last task, and that is I wish to put a splint or a camouflage cover over this really clumsy neck joint that I had to make. No flaw, no fault of the designer or the print, but the way I mucked it up, I need to put a cover over it. So that's what I am doing, and it would be helpful if you could see it on camera. There's a nasty, ugly, obvious seam right there, and I'm just going to put a little splint over it, camouflage it, and then I can put the decal there on both sides, and I think we'll call it a done thing. And then everything gets a flat coat of sealer to seal everything in. But gosh, I almost said an inappropriate word. Gosh, I really love how that decal laid down. Really happy with that. So, there are some rough spots. I'm not going to get into my final apology here, but there are some rough spots that exist. It is a 3D printed kit, and my admittedly limited ability to work with it is this is the best I could do, I feel. So let me get those splints in, get a little bit of paint over them. I'll turn this off so maybe you can see what's going on a little easier. But then we will do that same thing. Has to happen on the smaller ship. I want to try it out first on the big one just to see how well it's going to work. And then we'll be ready to call them done things finally. Okay, the splint is on. It's not attractive, but it's doing its job, and I think that's probably going to be on my tombstone. Ugly, but worked. Did what it needed to do. Excuse me. Did what it needed to do. I tried to camouflage it like another plate. Paint it in, make it look good. Now we're going to put the decal on, but I'm going to wait and do that at the same time as I do the smaller ship. So I need to pull the smaller ship out, the Titan out, and do the same type of splinty work on it. Also, I'm wondering about what needs to go on in there. Is there anything interesting I could put there that might dress that up a bit? Whether it just needs another piece of plating detail or what. I need to check the original sources and see what that looks like. Okay, I believe I am 4 decals away from finishing, and that is putting these neck decals on both ships. We're going to go to lunch. We're going to let all the paint we've put on here dry. We're going to go to lunch. We're going to come back. We're going to put those decals on, and then we're going to flat coat over top of the whole schlemiel. The whole shebang, the whole enchilada, the whole thing, the 2 ships passing in the night. We're going to put the finish coat on them, and then we will be, in fact, finished. So, yeah, we're that close. Okay, I'm back from lunch, and it's time to put the last of the decals down. Ooh, and then I'm going to, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the decals on, and then I'm going to sit down and I think do my post mortem on this entire build, and then put the clear coat over it because I want the decals to dry, but I also want to get this video up today, so I'm just trimming out these guys and we'll get ready to put them down. And here you go. Here are both ships all lit up. Everybody home. Oh, now see, that's actually a short in the cord to the wall wart. That is not a problem with the ship. Believe me, I've already been scared by that once already. But here we have. Now, obviously, you can see the things you can do when you have a bigger ship. You can put more circuits in it. You can put the little blinkies in, all that kind of stuff. You can do a better job of lighting the rim lights than you can down here. It's just areas of access open up to you. But that's the two of them, the Titan prize. And I need to see something here I have been neglecting. Let me check. Where's my scraper? Yes, I have been neglecting that. This was designed in such a way that I could open up that light. See, this one's already opened. I just never got around to scraping because this one had window masks and I therefore did not need to do any window scraping. But there was no mask for this strip light here. So we're going to open that up, clean it all out, and it actually is segmented. There's one little stand in the center, yeah. Just shut up and do it, Lou. Don't talk while you're doing this. You'll lose your concentration. Let's open that up a little wider. Much happier. There. Okay, now we're happier. Actually, I could do it a little bit wider here. Like I said, some things you can do easier on a bigger kit. But there you go. Yeah, that should go there, from that point to this point. Much happier. Well, folks, this brings an end to this 4.5 week, almost 5 week odyssey of building these two excellent kits from Horner Shipyards. Now, here are my thoughts, and you can take them for however much you think they're worth. I love this model. I love this this subject. It just speaks to me on so many levels. I loved it when I saw it on screen. I love the fact that I know the guy who designed this. I love all of that. I can't help it. I will tell you that if I had the ear of anybody around too, and I don't, I would be torn as to which one to recommend that they, of course they should, they should make both of them, but that's silly. That's irresponsible for me to even suggest. I know the real world tells me that they have limited amount of dollars and time and energy to get something tooled up. If I had my, in a perfect world, I would, hey, make a 350 of this, which would be that big. I mean, make, or twice as, well, see, this is 1,000. A 500 would be twice as big. Yeah, I think a 500 is probably what Bill's entry at Wonderfest was. if you're interested. May be a little bit, maybe a little smaller than that. He has the opportunity to correct me if he wants to. I personally, I like the bigger one. I like big kits, and I cannot lie. And that, you can take that to the bank. I like big kits, and I cannot lie. This kit is big enough that you can do all the stuff that you want to do. You can put strobes in it. You could put navs in it. Now, the engineering of it is such that it makes it, even at this scale, nigh on impossible to put the navs in it. So like I was saying, if I were to have the ear of anybody at round 2, and they made a styrene injected version of this, then it would be possible to do all that, because you don't have the same engineering issues that you do with the 3D printed kit. And a 3D printed kit, as beautiful as and as good as 3D printing is getting, it's still not quite there for one simple reason. I could see, when I look across this, I could still see the printing, what I call the wood grain. I could still see the pattern in it. And the problem with that is, yeah, you could sand that. You could use a thick paint on that. But you also have a lot of tiny surface details that you would lose the minute you had to start sanding this thing. And that is why I chose not to. I'd rather see the wood grain than to have all of the, raised hatches and all that kind of stuff obliterated. I mean, it's bad enough that I lost the red and green markers here because they got lost in the sanding process. It was just that simple, or that quick, and next thing you know, they're gone. If I had my choice of styrene versions of these, I'm willing to bet that even at 1400, if it were a styrene version, you could do the lighting that you would want to do. It would be difficult to get in there, but because the wall thicknesses would be different and the engineering of it would be different, it might be possible to put the strobes and blinkies in a 1400. I would still rather go with the 1000. 1000 is an established, both of them are established scales for round 2. But you put this 1000 scale next to any of the rest of their 1000 scale kits, or the 1400 next to the 1400 Galaxy class. It would still look nice. This obviously takes up, the big one takes up more shelf space. It's more of a commitment of time, space, and energy. But I think for what you get out of it, I think that if I had my druthers, it would be the 1000 scale. The saucer is not all that much different than a 537 scale refit or a 537 scale Reliant, as far as how much shelf space it takes up. So if that's your consideration, I gotta go with the 1000 scale. A 1400 will still make a very nice kit. You could still light it, obviously, but it will take a lot more. Maybe, I would say, well, it takes a lot more skill than I have to get lighting out to the saucer rim. So maybe not the average builder would be interested in that. I think the general builder would get much more out of a 1000 scale kit than the 1400. 1400's it's sort of like trying to light those 1000 scale refits and 1000 scale Reliants that are, about yay big. That it really makes a difference on how skilled you are and how small your hand-eye coordination is when it comes to lighting something that small. But having said all that, this was been a very enjoyable 4.5 weeks build. Again, my hat goes out to, or hat comes off to the fine folks at Horner Shipyards. I will be making whatever painting masks I used on these available to them. If they want to, I don't know that I would be selling them independently myself or through any of my resellers, but if Horner wants to carry them, I will certainly make them available to them to carry if that's what they want to do. I know that they had for a while wallpaper decals, but I prefer to paint them. Painting, you get your own colors, you can do whatever you want with it. So that's why I do. I will recommend that home decal paper perhaps that much more than using the Horner decals. I had much better results with my own decals than I did with them. Could just have been the combination of the clear coat that I used and the paint that I used, but having an alternative meant I didn't really have to go back in and research and figure out why that didn't work. I just went to plan B. Plan B was my own decals, and much happier with those. That pretty much wraps it up. Now next week, or actually starting tomorrow, going to be back in the Beta Quadrant. I guess that's where the Klingon Empire is. I'm going to start working on the Kronos one. I know everybody's been asking for it. I have been asking for it. So we'll start on that. So until a couple days from now, y'all be good, be safe, be smart, build some models, and we'll see you here very shortly.